Welcome to War Games, hosted by the sales genius Joe Ingram. If you're looking to win the sales battle, then you have joined the right team. In the War Games group, we devise strategies for sales, marketing, branding, mindset, and attitude. We enlist the assistance from the most successful producers across all industries. We then share their knowledge and techniques with you. Our single goal is to get you ready for your next sales opportunity. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that have crossed before you. Now, prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for the War Games to begin.
Are we playing?
Welcome back to War Games Group simulcasted to the Sales Genius podcast. I'm going to add JR up here because he's joining me up on stage right now. JR, welcome as always.
Thank you,
today I want everybody getting excited because we got a high energy Jeff Goldberg in the house this week. Jeff has over 4 decades of rock solid experience in sales management, training, and coaching. So he's got everything. And one of the things I asked him to talk about today was prospecting, because we can never let the top of the funnel end up getting, too barren. But I want you to understand, apart from all that, here's the kicker when it comes to Jeff. He's not the typical sales guru. He brings the excitement of the theater plus the humor of stand-up comedy. Okay. And you guys all know I'm a big proponent of edutainment. And could you find a better guest than to have Jeff Goldberg come on? Just me, maybe. But no, Jeff is the perfect one to come in and share that second voice that we all need that comes through. But he's going to make learning productive and downright fun. But I also want you guys to be really clear. I'm going to bring him up for this last part. He's about results, which we know is near and dear to my heart. I believe results is what creates a relationship for sales. But Jeff, welcome to War Games and Sales Genius podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. So there you go. I thought you said Jeff Goldblum. No. No. And Jeff's never heard that before either. Yes. So
I hear it all the time. I always say the same thing. He's taller, he's better looking, he's got a lot more money.
He's got a lot more money. Yeah, but he used to be a fly. So that's what you got him beat on that part. Yes. So, switch with me, Jeff, because I want to make sure everybody gets to participate. JR's typically really good about being, quiet and receptive. I'm not, but I do have a pen and paper to write down some stuff, and I tend to jump in from time to time. But, I created the show, so it's going to happen. So, Jeff, what can you share on prospecting for this group of entrepreneurs out there in the world today, that what they need to know to try to fill that top of the funnel and not look like a fool doing it? That would be another thing too.
Got it, Jeff. Give me a second. I'm going to try to share my screen. And of course, I'm pressing the wrong thing because, as I told you before, I'm on my laptop instead of my desktop because it's giving me problems. Here we go, present. Why is that not working? Hey, Jude. I wish I knew what was going on.
JR, like, rock, paper, scissors would be totally cool. See which one of us wins. I'm just adding stress to Jeff right now.
I had this a second ago, and I don't know what's wrong. I got kicked out, came back in, and now it's just not working.
You want to email it over to me if it's small enough?
It's not small enough.
Okay.
Tell you what, how about if I leave the studio, come back in for a second? What do you think of that?
That's fine.
All right, I'll be right.
We can do it.
Tap dance for a minute or two.
Right. We got this.
We're professionals. Don't worry.
Yeah, come on, JR. Don't lump me into that.
I have delusions of adequacy. I'm sorry. Wow. Center stage.
Yes, look at that. Everybody, let's talk to JR for a second and go through this. So now I wanted to pull Jeff off the stage just because in case he had some other stuff or some choice words for his laptop that came in. So look, let's make our really big. This is us now, or we can give ourselves some space. But so thanks for those of you out there joining us. If Jeff waves at me, I'll know that he wants to come back in. But I want to talk a little bit because what Jeff's talking about is prospecting. You guys know me. I'm the AI car guy, right? I am all about ChatGPT and using ChatGPT to help your business. So one of the things that ChatGPT just came out with is called Vision. What Vision is in ChatGPT is you can upload artwork that you think is going to be good. You can upload that artwork, put it in there, and ask its opinion as a marketing expert. So if you can ask it as a marketing expert, think about how great, right, that would actually help you instead of having to go do a lot of the A/B testing. Have it go check what you're doing. But one of the tools I want you guys to at least say, hey, this is something I could use. Okay. And I'll just keep dancing until I get to that point because this is fun for me. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and see if it's going to kick me out of it. But let's come over here, share screen. Okay. Boom. And JR, I'll use your head to see if it's there.
Wow.
Oh, add to stage. There we go. Jeff is coming back in. But if you look over here and you can see this one, I'll blow it up a little bit for you. So I was sitting out here trying to come up with what should I do on LinkedIn? And we know since I like to play in automotive, I put up the dealership owner's diary. Okay. And this is just a graphic that goes across the bottom, but it also has a sound file in it down below. So it makes a talking post. So as soon as you open up LinkedIn and pull up that post, you'll be able to hear this 40 seconds worth of a commercial. Now that's the longest one I did. The rest of them, right, is sitting back. I popped them all out, 15 seconds tops. Okay. But one of the things I'll tell you when it comes to utilizing Canva is a real quick, easy way to make videos, posts, and all you do is just say, I want to start a new post. And you can say create design, as you see here. And there's YouTube thumbnail. There's a Facebook post, a Facebook cover, an Instagram story, and a LinkedIn post. So you can pick all of these. And this is just because that's what I use more often than most. But it will come back and put all of this stuff back in for you, so that you are already sized correctly. So I would recommend using that. You can also connect your social media to Canva. And when you do that, it's going to go ahead and say, here, go ahead and send it out to Instagram right away from Canva. So that's what I was going to do as far as tap dancing, because guess who I see on my screen down below? Jeff is on his PC now. He has moved away from the little laptop. Welcome, Jeff.
I'm so sorry. First of all, Canva rules. I love Canva. It's cheap and it's easy. Even a guy like me who is not a graphic artist can create beautiful stuff. You look at my LinkedIn banner. I did that for $1 in about 10 minutes. So great stuff. Absolutely. I did have to switch to my PC because now my laptop froze. So I'm gonna get right to this, and hopefully we can get through this before anything else freezes. If it does, I'm just going to apologize in advance. But
yep.
All right. Now let's see.
And people think I'm in a sauna. So I'm not in the sauna. It is hot in this office, but this is actually my client's office. And so there's a nice big window over here, but he chose to say, I think wood is a good wall decoration. And this is actually another window, but it got way too hot. So he covered it in wood. So,
all right. Well, hopefully you can see my screen now. So
hold on. Let me grab it for you. There we go.
Yay.
We are live.
All right. Let's get going then. So my selling skills program, Joe, as you know, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them do one thing and one thing only: get measurable and sustainable sales increases. I guarantee you, nobody's hiring me for my good looks. So
the challenge that I find in both large organizations and individuals when they come to me for coaching is that they're just not seeing enough prospects. And I don't care how good you are at selling. You're an expert. I've been selling for 48 years. If we're not seeing enough prospect, we can't possibly close enough business. It just doesn't work that way because not everybody buys, no matter how good you are. And my stepfather, who was a career salesperson, taught me something a long time ago. He said, Jeff, sales is a great career, and here's why. Every single day, you get to wake up, look yourself in the mirror, and give yourself a raise. And then all you have to do is go out and earn it. And that stuck with me for many, many years. It's allowed me, a college dropout, to do, as Jewish people say, I do okay. So most people probably don't want to hear this, but the deal is you've got to prospect like crazy, and you got to do it both consistently and effectively. With one without the other is not enough. You can be the best prospector, but if you don't do it consistently, you're not going to make enough money. And if you're consistent without being effective, then you're not going to make enough money either. I suggest to my clients, you've got to prospect every single day, and you've got to put it on your calendar. What's on your calendar is more likely to get done than the stuff that's not. So it's got to be on your calendar every single day. And I have this argument with people all the time. I'm telling you, cold calling still works. I'm not saying it's the only thing you should be doing. In fact, I believe in what I call a blended approach, which is what I'm going to share with your audience today. But if you are good at it, cold calling is still the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to fill the top of the funnel if you don't have enough appointments. What you're looking at here is the relationship between prospecting and getting paid. So the thing I believe is if we prospected today and got a paycheck for it tomorrow, everybody would prospect every day. But I sell a couple of different services. Sales training is one, sales coaching is another. I have online sales training programs. So let's just talk about when I'm selling sales training. I'm talking to a VP of sales, a president, or a CEO about buying some sales training for their company. Well, I'm going to have a first meeting with them. And from the time they first reach out to me and we set the appointment, it's probably 2 to 3 weeks before we actually have that first meeting. When we have that first meeting, I'm gathering information. Are they going to give me a check that day? Absolutely not. Are they going to give me a check at the second meeting? No, because that's when I come back with a proposal. And then the third meeting is when I come back with a final proposal, and that's hopefully the closing meeting. And that takes about 8 weeks. I have an average 8-week sales cycle. So I've got 2 to 3 weeks before we even first met and another 8 weeks of the deal. We're now 10 to 11 weeks in, and I still don't have a check. At that point, once we shake hands and agree to do business, I've got to write up the letter of agreement, get their signature. I've got to write the program, write the workbook. They've got to rent a room. We've got to coordinate my calendar with their calendar and their salespeople's calendars. And my calendar for sales training is typically booked up 8 to 16 weeks in advance. And we've got to coordinate with people who may be coming from around the city, around the country, sometimes from around the world. I have to send an invoice. And from the time I first speak to somebody till I get their check in my pocket, it's 4.5 months. Why is that important to know? It's not that that's right or wrong. It's simply that if I don't prospect for sales training clients today, I can't get a paycheck 4.5 months from today. And if I don't prospect for tomorrow, I can't get paid 4.5 months from tomorrow. And when you string enough days together where you're not prospecting, you can't get paid down the line. And that's what causes the ups and downs of selling. A good week followed by a bad week, a good month followed by a bad month, and so on. So prospecting consistently and effectively is key to getting paid on a regular basis and keeping your income at the highest levels. Now, I do believe in what I call a blended approach to prospecting. There's no one thing that seems to be working better than everything else that you should stick with. If you found the one thing that's bringing you enough prospects on a consistent basis, keep doing that. But I like to do a bunch of stuff. I believe in cold and warm calls. I believe in advertising and marketing. By the way, I'm not an expert in either of those. I have experts I can introduce people to, but that's one way to prospect. Email, I love email marketing. I'm a big fan of networking. I belong to one networking group, and I get 40% of my business just from being in that group. Newsletters, speeches, there's a lot of ways to prospect. Obviously, writing blogs, and of course, social media. You were talking about it a little earlier, Joe. Places like LinkedIn and Facebook and TikTok, they're great places to prospect. I get 40% of my business from LinkedIn. And by the way, it's not from the way most people would think. It's not me reaching out to people and saying, hey, want to buy some sales training today? Even if I did that more articulately than that, it's still not the right way to do it. I get my business on LinkedIn, from LinkedIn, by consistently posting valuable content for my audience, the people who I want to sell my products and services to. I'm consistently giving them free information to help them do their jobs, hoping that, and this is what happens, they raise their hand and they say, I think I need to talk to you about some coaching or some training for my team or whatever it is that they're looking for. So the thing is, you want to figure out what are the things that you can do. You want to track everything that you're trying. What you're looking at now is an example of a simple spreadsheet that I share with my clients so they can track when they're cold calling. And each of the columns, you simply put in tick marks. When you make a dial, you get through to somebody. That's what I call a completed call. You set an appointment, you put the tick marks in. At the end of the day, you transfer those over to an Excel spreadsheet. And eventually you come up with what your real metrics are. And as a coach, I can look at my clients' metrics and know what they're doing wrong. Let's just take those first three: the number of dials you make, to the number of times you get through to the right person, to the number of times you set an appointment. Joe, I know that if your dials to completed calls ratio is not good, I know for a fact you either don't know how to get past the gatekeeper or you don't know how to leave a voicemail that gets people to call you back. If your ratio of completed calls to appointments isn't good, then I know you don't know what to say when the person on the other end of the line tells you no, because that's everybody's knee-jerk reaction when you cold call them. They're going to tell you, no, I'm busy, I'm not interested, or they'll give you one of 7 objections that everybody gives. So by knowing those things, by knowing people's numbers and knowing whether they're doing it right or wrong, that allows me as a coach to help them. Whatever you're doing in terms of your prospecting, your outbound marketing efforts, track it and make sure that you're measuring consistently to see, is it really working? Because going with gut instinct or anecdotal evidence, you may be thinking something's working when it's really not. You always want to test and measure everything that you try, keep what you're at, what's working, and then get rid of the rest. And it's also important, if you look at that bottom one, what will you actually do? If there's something that you're not willing to do, like cold calling, for example, lots of people won't cold call. I built my business by cold calling. Now, I hate it though. I love teaching it, but I hate doing it. So I'd rather live in my car than ever have to cold call again to make a living. Now, the truth is, I do it once a month for about 20 or 30 minutes just to make sure that what I'm teaching people is still working. But I've become very good at doing other things so that I don't have to cold call. So you want to create a prospecting plan, put it into effect, test and measure everything, and refine it as you go along. And it's really not about one thing, as I said, it's about a blended approach or the campaign. So here's the question I get asked all the time. Jeff, where is the smart money in prospecting? And the answer is, I don't know. Nobody knows. That's why you have to try everything and test and measure. Is it in cold calling? I don't know. If you're good at it, maybe that's enough for you. Is it in email? Is it in direct mail? By the way, I happen to love direct mail. Here's why I love direct mail, Joe. Almost nobody does it anymore. I used to every day in the mailbox get 20, 30 envelopes filled with from banks and insurance companies. I almost get none anymore. And I like to do what the other guy or gal isn't doing because that's a great way to stand out. So I think right now, direct mail should absolutely be part of everybody's prospecting mix. Social media, networking, again, should absolutely be part of the mix. I don't know which one's working, and you don't either until you try them, test and measure, and find out what's really working for you. And you should be doing a bunch of different things because I don't know if you've read the reports, Joe, but it depends on which one you read. It takes between 12 and 18 touches before somebody's even going to respond to you in the first place. So you got to be doing a bunch of stuff all at the same time. Here's something you might find interesting. What you're looking at, sometimes you've got to get creative because nothing's working. What you're looking at is a picture of a radio control car, the kind you buy at a store for a kid. It has a little controller. And this one just happens to be a Lamborghini. I was working with a company at one point that does server maintenance for mainframe computers. Now, there aren't as many mainframe computers as there used to be, but there are still companies that use them. These guys do server maintenance for these huge computer systems. They had clients like the New York Stock Exchange and Mount Sinai Hospital, places like that. And they were selling server maintenance to CTOs, chief technology officers. Now, of all the people that you could possibly call, I find that there are three types of people that are very hard to get a hold of. One is doctors, 2 is lawyers, and 3 is CTOs. And of those 3, chief technology officers are the most difficult people to reach. They're never at their desk. Their voicemail is always full. They're very hard to reach. So we tried everything we could, including me hiring a telemarketing team, training them and managing them on site, still could not get appointments that way. So what we did was we bought a bunch of these radio controlled cars. We took the controller out of the box, wrapped up the car that you see in a beautiful gift box, and the card inside read, "Here's the car. If you'll meet with me, I'll bring the controller and leave it with you." Believe it or not, we got 3 out of 10 CTOs to agree to a meeting just so they could get the controller that does this little $25 toy. And it was a total cost of acquisition of $100 an appointment. I don't know about you, Joe. I'll pay $100 for a qualified appointment all day long.
All day.
All day long. Here's another one you might like. And people always think this is corny, but I don't care if it's corny if it works. So you go to a shoe store and you buy a cheap pair of shoes. I like to buy sneakers. You take one out of the box. Again, you put it in a gift box, and the message reads, now that I've got one foot in the door, what's it going to take to get the other? And again, I know that's corny, guys, except if you get a box with a shoe in it and a note that says that, aren't you going to laugh to yourself and say, you know what? This salesperson deserves.
You earned it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So, sometimes you just got to get creative. Now, with email marketing, the most important thing is the subject line. It's all about this. If you can't get past the subject line, they're not going to open your email. So you got to make sure that it's something intriguing. It's got to be short. Keep in mind that most people are not reading their email on a desktop. They're reading on a phone, and you don't have as much real estate on a phone to have a long subject line. It's got to be descriptive. And if it doesn't get them to open it, then it's a waste of time. Now, open this email to win $1 million. Don't do that. First of all, it's not going to get past the spam filters, and nobody's going to open it. So we've got to make sure that we're doing something that's really going to get them to open the email. And what I've found is personalized and localized email subject lines have a much better open rate than any regular subject line. So if Bob is a CTO and I send him an email that says, is your infrastructure burning money? He may open it. But if I say, Bob, is your infrastructure burning money? He's got a much more likely chance of opening it. And if I say, Bob, is your Kansas City infrastructure, assuming he's in Kansas City, dramatically increases the open rate when you personalize it. Now, that means it's harder to automate that because I haven't found a way to automate the subject line yet. But I'd rather take a little extra time and type out a personalized email that has a much better chance of getting open than something that's just going to sit in somebody's inbox or more than likely just get deleted. I don't know about you guys, but I get between 250 and 400 emails every day. Half of them get deleted without me even opening it. If I recognize your name, I will open your email. If not, you better have an incredibly good subject line. Otherwise, I just don't have the time or the patience. Content in an email is king. Once you get them to open the email, now you've got to give them great content. And you want to make sure you get to the point very quickly because most people don't have much patience for that. We're all in the TikTok world now where everything is 7 or 10 seconds. So you better get to the point right away and be intriguing. There's a concept in newspaper called above the fold. What you see on the right is a picture of the New York Times, which if anybody's ever seen it, it's a very long newspaper. And when you're on the subway or the Long Island Railroad, you see people reading the New York Times, at least when they were used to read physical papers, folded over in half. Well, everything you can see.
Three of us understand. The millennials in the group don't. And Jamie also came up with, she has over 20,000 unread emails.
Exactly right.
Just delete them.
So the concept of above the fold in a newspaper is when you fold it in half, everything that you can see when you first look at it is considered above the fold. When you have to turn it over, that's considered below the fold. In an email, we consider above the fold anything that you can see without having to page down. So the goal is, how do I get as much information as I can in a paragraph or two so that people don't have to page down? I can tell you that when I read an email, if I see 3, 5, 10 paragraphs, I'm going to skim it really quickly. I just don't have the time to read everything. So you want to get to the point.
Jeff, above the scroll.
Oh, there you go. We should copyright that, above the scroll.
Yes, above the scroll. So that way, as soon as you have to start scrolling, you're like, yeah, I'll get to this when I get to my desktop.
Exactly right. And even then, I'm still not going to do it.
Right. Because it's already marked red.
And of course, it's crucial that people understand the difference between features and benefits. Most salespeople in any sale that they're doing, whether it's an email or anything else, they're talking about the features of what they do. But here's the challenge with that. People don't buy features, they buy benefits. People buy what things do. Features are what something is or has, and benefits are what something does. People buy what things do. I have a car. My car has heated seats. Now, I don't care about heated seats. What I care about is when I get in my car, my rear end is warm. It's the benefit that I have from the heated seats. Here's another one. I could stand on my head whistling Dixie all day naked in front of an audience, as long as at the end of the day, the people who hired me are convinced that their salespeople are going to close more business and do it quicker and more profitably. That's the benefit of working with me. Sales training or coaching just happens to be the feature. It's how I get it done, but the benefit is what people are looking for. You should also, in any email, have a call to action, a CTA, like click here and download our white paper, or use my Calendly link to set up a time to discuss. Are they always going to do it? Nope, but some will. So at least have a chance of having somebody reply to your email, pick up the phone and call you, click on the link for a competitive quote or whatever it is. At least you've got a shot. I happen to like email with video. That bottom left picture is my ugly mug smiling, holding up a cheap whiteboard that I bought at Staples, and I can customize the message. So I can start my video holding up that message where it says, "Hello, Bob, how are sales?" Assuming I'm sending this email to a VP of sales named Bob. Bob, when he sees this video embedded in the body of the email, the first thing he sees is I've personalized this for him. I'm not just sending this out to everybody in the world. I'm sending it specifically to Bob. So again, increasing the odds of Bob actually opening up the email and then watching this video, which would be no more than a minute long, and me speaking directly to the challenges that I know Bob has. I know the challenges that VPs of sales have. Their sales cycle is taking too long. Their lazy ass salespeople aren't getting enough appointments with decision makers, and they're just not closing enough business, and they're not doing enough profitably. Vidyard, you can go to vidyard.com. I'm pretty sure they have a free version where you can create videos just like that. So email with video is terrific. Excuse me, referrals. Referrals are my favorite way to prospect. It's the best way you can possibly get into somebody's office or have a conversation with them. A well-made introduction takes you halfway to the sale. So when somebody is referring you, the sale's halfway done before you even get there, because they're using their social capital with the person they're introducing you to get you in. Now, my coach swears that you should never ask for referrals. She thinks it's rude. She thinks you should be so good that people will refer you anyways. And Steve Martin actually said at one point, the famous comedian, be so good that they can't ignore you. Now, my coach happens to be so good that she never has to ask for referrals. But for most of us, we do have to ask. And the reason that most salespeople don't get referrals is they never ask people. So you want to make sure you're asking. The question I get is, who should I ask, Jeff? Well, if you're on a sales call and you close the deal, ask for referrals. If you got a happy client, ask for referrals. If you're on a sales call and they choose not to do business with you, ask for referrals anyways. Even though they're not choosing to do business with you right now, they may know somebody who might be interested. And I'm very big on starting conversations everywhere I go. If you're ever sitting next to me on an airplane, and I'm on airplanes a lot, like I'm sure you are too, I guarantee you at some point I'm going to turn to you and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Jeff. What's yours? And you're going to say it's Joe. And I'm going to say these words. Hey, Joe, I'm just curious. What do you do for a living? Now, do I really care what you do for a living? Well, I care a little bit. What I really care about is when you get done explaining to me what you do for a living, you're going to say to me, hey, Jeff, what do you do for a living? And I'm very well prepared to tell you exactly what I do for a living, and to finish with that with, who do you know that I should be speaking with? I have gotten referrals on airplanes, in diners, on movie theater lines. I am prepared to tell people what I do everywhere I go and ask for referrals. It's the best way to get business. You want to train your clients by asking them for referrals regularly, and you want to make sure that you let people know you're going to bend over backwards to exceed their expectations. When I am selling a new prospect, one of the things I tell them is exactly these words. And again, it's corny. And I've had people say, Jeff, you would never say that. And I actually do. I want you to know that if we choose to do business together, I'm going to bend over backwards and break my own back, excuse me, to exceed your expectations. And by the way, I'm doing this for selfish reasons. First of all, happy customers are a dime a dozen. I'm not looking for you just to be happy. I want you to be thrilled. And the reasons I want to do that are two. One, if I exceed your expectations, you and I are going to do business for a long, long time. And that's exactly what I want. And number two is, if I exceed your expectations and thrill you instead of just making you happy, you're going to offer to introduce me to other people. And that's what I want to. So train them the right way and let them know you're interested in getting their referrals, and you're going to take great care of the people that you're being introduced to. You should have a spreadsheet and track your referrals, just like every other type of prospecting you're doing. Create a spreadsheet. Who did you ask for referrals? How often are they giving them to you, and what's the result? And over time, you'll see that there are certain people or certain industries that are more likely to refer business to you, and you want to focus on them. Those are the people you should be courting, taking them out to lunch and doing nice things for them. you might even consider setting up a referral program where you're somehow rewarding people for giving referrals. I personally don't do that. I don't want to pay for referrals. Actually, I take that back. I'm happy to pay people for referrals, but I don't accept referral fees. I introduce people only for one reason, because I think two people can help each other. Other than that, I'm not interested in taking referral fees, but I'm happy to pay them. So you might have some type of referral program where people get a free whatever you have to offer if they refer enough people, or they get some money, whatever it is. But the key is ask for referrals all the time. If you don't ask, you're not going to get them. Networking. 30% of my business comes from the networking group I belong to for the last 18 years. It's kind of a high level group. It's a little more expensive than most, but I think that keeps the riffraff out. And when you're investing that kind of money in a group, what's going to happen is you're very serious about both getting and getting referrals. Now, there are networking events and there are networking groups. An event, we've all been to them. There's hundreds of people milling around, all exchanging business cards. I'm not a huge fan because that's all it is. It's a business card exchange. If you're going to go to an event, my coaching is go to the event, speak to as many people as you can, and focus on the one or two or three that really seem like they might be a good referral partner for you, and then set up a meeting to meet them outside of the event where you can really get to know each other. Because I'm not referring anybody to anyone that I don't know well, because who am I going to introduce them to? I'm going to introduce them to my prospects and my clients. And that's how I feed my children. So I want to make sure I get to know somebody pretty well before I refer them. So events are okay, and you should go to them occasionally. But to me, a group where you're going to go regularly, whether it's once a week, twice a month, or whatever it is, and really invest the time to get to know the other people in the group, that's money. That's a winner, my friend. 18 years in the same group, 30% of my business comes from that group. There's not a single year that I haven't made at least $40,000 from being in the group that I'm in. So speeches are also a great way. The National Speakers Association says that out of every audience that you speak in front of, 1 out of 10 audience members will be interested in what you have to offer them. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily buy, but at least they're interested. And by the way, you don't have to be a professional speaker, a paid speaker, to give speeches. I am a professional speaker, Joe. I know you are too. But as long as you can talk intelligently and articulately about your product or service and give people advice, that's a speech. The key is, though, when you're invited in to give a speech, and there's lots of places looking for speakers all the time. Networking groups always looking for speakers, chambers of commerce, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis. There's lots of places to give speeches. The key is it cannot be a commercial for your organization. You can't just get up and say, let me tell you why Jeff Goldberg and Associates is the greatest sales training and coaching firm in the world. Nobody wants to hear that. You've got to give them real value. But when you do that, hopefully at the end, some of those people come up and want to shake your hand and talk to you about what you have to offer. Speeches are a great way to develop business, as are newsletters, blogs, podcasts like the one we're on right now, video casts like the one I do every Friday morning. These are great ways to get the word out and to get people interested in working with you so that you don't have to reach out to them directly. Again, we're looking for people who will raise their hand and say, I'm interested in speaking with you about whatever service you're offering. Again, in a newsletter, just like in a speech, it can't be about a sales pitch. Provide real value. Give people advice. Look, in my posts on LinkedIn, I post twice a day, every day. There's never a sales pitch, and it's always me giving great information. However, there's no way you're going to get all the information you need like I would do in a full-day seminar or in my online training programs. So I'm kind of like a drug dealer. I'm giving you a little taste and hoping you come back and say, hey, where do I get more of that? Always be sure you're providing massive value. When you give, you tend to get. Same thing with blogs and podcasts and all that stuff. Provide value. I used to have a newsletter. It's interesting. I stopped doing it a few years ago because I was focused on other things. But I had a guy reach out to me and he said to me, hey, Jeff, he told me his name, and I'm not going to say it just in case anybody knows this guy. But he told me his name. He goes, do you remember me? I'm saying, I'm sorry, I really don't. He goes, yeah, I spoke with you 5 years ago about doing some training for my team. And he went on to tell me what he was looking for. And as he was speaking, I did remember him. And we talked for a couple of minutes. He goes, look, I talked to you 5 years ago. I was thinking about bringing you in for a day of training. I was getting my salespeople from across the country together. Thought you could spend the day with them. And I said, yeah, I remember you now. Why didn't we do business 5 years ago? He said, well, truthfully, Jeff, I had sticker shock. I said, oh, well, I've got good news and bad news. Good news is my prices have not gone up. The bad news is my prices have not gone down. He goes, yeah. I know what you charge. Don't worry about it. I want to work with you. And then I asked them the crucial question which was, look, man, you're the president of a company. I know you get calls from guys like me 10, 15 times a week, every single week. My mom thinks very highly of me, but what made me stick in your mind for 5 years that you remembered to call me? And he said, oh, that's simple. It's your monthly newsletter. I read it every single month. I share it with everybody in my company, not just the salespeople. So find ways to reach out to people and stay in touch with them. The Sales Pro Network, which you see over there in the bottom right, that's my Facebook group for salespeople. That's an old picture. We now have about 1,300 members. It's one more way for me to provide value and keep my name and face in front of people who may have an interest in doing business with me. Now, one of my favorite subjects, boy, oh boy, I consider LinkedIn to be the salesperson's best friend. My prospects are all hanging out on LinkedIn, and I don't know what you guys sell, but most for your listeners, Joe, I don't know what they're selling, but I'll bet your prospects are on LinkedIn too. And I consider it it's just a great place to be actively prospecting for business. At the last time I checked, there were over 810 million members in 200 countries. It's very likely that your prospects are LinkedIn, but most salespeople are using it wrong. Here's the wrong way. You connect with someone, they send you a connection request, you accept it, and 10 seconds later, you're getting a DM from them saying, hey, Jeff, let me tell you how I help coaches like you get millions of leads with no effort on your part and for free. All right. If they could really do that, I, of course, would be interested in speaking with them. But A, they can't. And B, they just treated me like somebody that they met in a bar and invited back to their house immediately. It's like me walking into a bar and walking up to a woman and saying, hey, want to come back to my place? No hello, no what's your name, no drinks, no dates, no nothing. It just doesn't work that way. So if you want to sell directly by using LinkedIn, first you have to develop a relationship. But again, I'm a real fan of content marketing. You have to earn the right to have that business relationship, to have that business discussion with people. And you do that, again, by adding massive value. And you have to remember what LinkedIn was originally designed to do. LinkedIn was originally designed to be a networking organization online. So if people join because they want to network with you, when you're trying to pitch them immediately, the last thing that's going to happen is you're going to do business with them. In any networking organization, including the one I belonged to for 18 years, it's not our job to sell to the people in the group. It's our job to create a relationship with those people so they're going to introduce you to other people that they know that might want to do business with you. And it's the same thing on LinkedIn. Your profile on LinkedIn is crucial. All these are very bad examples of profile pictures. You want to make sure that it's the first thing people look at when they go to your LinkedIn profile. So make sure you've got a picture that looks fairly decent. Be looking right at the camera. Be dressed professionally. Put a smile on your face. People judge you whether they should or shouldn't based on how you look. So put your best foot forward. Your title underneath your name is very valuable real estate. You can say anything you want there. So I am not a fan of salespeople putting in things like account executive, salesperson, or anything like that. You can see one of my old ones. It said sales genius, helping dynamic organizations and leaders take their sales results to the next level. Well, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking at that, I'm going, this guy's got a pretty big ego calling himself a genius, but I'm interested in taking the results to the next level. The one on the bottom right is my current one, which says sales problem solver, coaching sales managers and sales reps to exceed their goals. I'm coming right out and telling you, here's what I do for people. For activity, you got to post regularly. If you're going to do content marketing like I do, you want to post at least once a day. I post twice a day, every single day. By the way, I do not actually post every day, twice a day. I do it all on Saturday morning through a program called buffer.com. I make all my posts for the week. It automates it. I can put them, I tell Buffer exactly when I want them to appear, and that's when they appear. So I don't have to worry about it during prime selling time when I should be speaking to prospects. You want to post content that's valuable to the people you want to sell to, and you want to vary the content. One of the things that helps the algorithm get to more people is if you're just posting the same thing every day, like memes. I love memes, but I don't post memes every day. You want to mix it up. One day you post a meme, one day you post some writing, some text, maybe there's a video in there, a poll. Vary it up because that keeps people interested. And what you're looking to do is become known as a thought leader. By posting valuable content, people start thinking, this guy Jeff seems to know what he's talking about. And when it comes time that they want some training or they want some coaching, hopefully they're thinking of me. I urge people to get lots and lots of recommendations on LinkedIn. There's recommendations that people have to take the time to actually write that. It's different than an endorsement where you just click a box and say, yeah, Jeff's good at sales training. Jeff's good at that. But a recommendation, somebody has to take the time to write it for you. So it means a lot more. I spoke to a LinkedIn expert who says you want to get at least 50 recommendations because, again, that pushes you up in the algorithm, makes you look good. And you can either reach out to people and ask them to recommend you if you're a first level connection, or if you give somebody a recommendation, there's a likelihood that they'll reciprocate. So you want to get lots and lots of recommendations. Remember, you want to post valuable content, give generously, give till it hurts. Trust me, you don't have enough real estate on LinkedIn to tell people everything that you do and give them all your content. What you're looking to do is whet their appetite and give them something so they go, this guy knows what he's talking about, so that they will reach out to you and say, let's talk about possibly doing business. Now, everybody hates cold calling. Anybody who tells me they like cold calling is either lying or crazy. Again, you've got to be consistent with it. It should be on your calendar every single day to prospect consistently. It is still, as I said, the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to fill your calendar with appointments if you don't have enough, but you've got to do it well. First of all, you got to have confidence. Now, whether you like Donald Trump or don't like Donald Trump, that's besides the point. Or maybe you like Beyonce, but you don't like Trump, or maybe you like Trump, but you don't like Beyonce. But we can agree on one thing. These two people are filled with confidence. You can bet if Donald Trump picks up the phone and calls you, he's not going to start out with, I hope I'm not interrupting you today. And, could you please give me a couple of minutes to tell you about, staying at Trump hotels? No, he's the Donald. He was the president of the United States. He's going to be full of confidence. You've got to have the attitude that what I have to offer you holds tremendous value. When I call people, the thought in my head is, wow, this person is lucky that I decided to call them today because I'm freaking phenomenal at what I do. And if they're smart and decide to engage my services, I'm going to help them sell more and get more appointments. You'd be crazy not to speak with me. Again, this is not what you say to people, but this has to be the mindset that you have, totally confident, as opposed to most salespeople, which are, I can't believe I've got to get on the phone again. Nobody wants to talk to me. What am I doing here?
Agreed.
Remember that any day, of course, you have to have a script. It can't sound scripted, and you have to know your rebuttals. We don't have the time today to go into exactly how to do that, but I'm happy to talk to anybody who needs a little bit of advice in that area. Remember that any day that you don't prospect is a day that you cannot get paid somewhere down the line. And please remember the words of my stepfather who said, sales is a great career. Every single day you can wake up, look yourself in the mirror, and give yourself a raise. And then all you have to do is get out and earn it. Joe, for those people who are interested in learning how to prospect better, I just launched 2 online courses. One is on conversational selling and one's on prospecting. I'm offering these right now for $495. The price is going up to $3,000 in a couple of weeks. So if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me directly. I'm happy to talk to them about it. Or the QR code on the right, if they want to take a picture, that takes them right to the page. And this is my Facebook group. It's a free group. Anybody's welcome to join it. That QR code will take you to the page and you can join it. You can come and learn, you can earn, you can network with other salespeople, you can ask questions and get advice. I've got a lot of my competitors on there who I've interviewed. Joe, you're going to do an interview for me a couple of months from now. They're all happy to help. And every Friday at 10 a.m., I do a live interview with people who add value to the profession of sales, just like you, Joe. And my contact information is on the bottom there because I truly love helping people. Anybody in your audience is welcome to call me for free. Look, I can't speak to somebody for 5 hours a day every single day and not ask for money.
He was warning you, JR. Yeah.
But anybody who has a quick question, I'm always happy to help. I find that when you give, you get. So I hope that your audience found that useful, Joe and JR.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And in my Facebook group, as well as LinkedIn and YouTube, the link to your Sales Pro network for Facebook is there. So anybody who's listening to it, watching it now, just click on the link and take yourself over and join the group. So, okay. Fantastic, Jeff. It's amazing. New York came through as the speed kept getting faster and faster on the way through. I was like, oh yeah.
You know what, Joe? I get excited, and I've got so much that I want. I try to cram as much as I possibly can.
You did. It was amazing. It was amazing. So in looking at it, right, so I had several people text me questions, but do you offer, like they said, when it comes to the cold emails or the reaching out to people, is offering a free sales training, right, for like an hour with their team something you would recommend?
Well, I find that people place value on what they pay for. And if you pay nothing for something, they tend to get no value. I want to give you a quick example. I have a friend who used to be the chiropractor to the stars in New York City. Madonna was his client. Will Chamberlain was his client. I mean, this guy was crazy, crazy good. He was a dear friend of mine. And I used to drive from Queens into New York City twice a week just to get adjusted by this guy. And he used to charge me $3 every time. And I was like, Ronnie, you don't need the $3. Why are you charging me $3 freaking dollars for an adjustment? He goes, if you didn't pay me for it, you wouldn't get the value. So I'm not a big fan of free. Now, am I willing to speak to somebody for 15 or 20 minutes so that they get a taste of me? Sure. But I'm not giving away hours of my time because those are valuable. And
Right.
I think one thing that's important to remember is you can almost always get better if you're not healthy. Almost. You can always make more money. But the one thing you can never get back is time. And you need to respect your own time.
Very true.
Love it. So, okay, this is what I'm looking at. My subject line better be intriguing. Okay, right? I love the idea of the name, the city, and the actual problem that you're looking at or what they could be annoyed with, right? Above the scroll, I'm a firm believer in that one, and focus on the benefit. Yeah, and that was fantastic. And so I'm looking at it now. One of the things I wrote down to say, not as a recap, but as me, was create the plan and add your prospecting to your calendar. Okay. So to me, I'm like, that's fantastic. I literally have time blocked out on my calendar that says blocked. Right. And so I know it's designed. So if somebody gets my calendar link, right, you and I both know there's so many calendar link systems that we use. We never know which one's coming into which calendar, but I have to have certain times blocked off so that I'm not getting a meeting scheduled when I'm en route to meet a client, right? Or something along those lines. So, but to stop and say, I'm now changing the word blocked to prospecting. And now I know I go in there when I see it pop up and go prospecting, it's like, great. And my answer is yes, everybody I know that as a client is on LinkedIn. So I would definitely be out there on LinkedIn doing it. So
yeah, Joe, by the way, when I take on a new coaching client, the first thing we do obviously is set a financial goal. The second thing is I teach them what I call calendarization, which is a time management hack. And it simply means everything goes on your calendar. Everything. Right. The last thing on your calendar each day should be planned tomorrow. And you should never, ever walk in and sit down at your desk and go, what should I do first? Because I guarantee you'll waste 5 to 15 minutes just trying to figure out what to do. And most likely you're going to choose something that you either like to do or are really good at, which may not be the thing that's most likely to result in income. Block out your calendar every minute, including little breaks. It should all be planned out.
And I'm going out there to go buy cheap shoes. That's I actually have written down shoes in circle that I was like, now that I got a foot in the door, right? I think.
Want to hear another one, Joe? There's a company where I forgot their name, but they will inscribe your message on a potato, a real potato, and they'll send that to a prospect. And they open up and there's a potato with your name and phone number and whatever message you got. Crazy.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yes. I used to send to my employee who was vegan eggplants that had his name written on it. So he'd get a FedEx package that came in, he'd open it up and be a big giant eggplant with his name on it. And he'd be like, what? Why? I said, just because. But I guarantee you're going to remember that years to come. Going, I received an eggplant. Yes. So perfect. Jeff, thank you so much. JR, do you have questions? Yes.
I have a couple. Tom Peters said, what's worth doing is worth measuring. So I'm wondering, to evoke somebody from back in the day, your marketing endeavors as far as cold calling, as far as mail outs, as far as stuff like that. I mean, with a mail out, if you get a 5% on a qualified mailing, that's supposed to be the target. Do you do any of that sort of metric analysis?
Do I? Everything. I measure everything. Yes. I think it's important to not over measure. I worked with one company. You needed a magnifying glass to read their spreadsheets because there was so much detail on it. But you do want to measure, what efforts am I making? How many emails am I sending out? How many voicemails am I leaving? And what's the result? Because here's an example. So when I first started, I worked for a very large, well-known sales training company before I opened my own. And that's where I learned how to sell and deliver sales training. And If you had asked me before I started working for that company, by the way, the owner of that company was the person who taught me the value of metrics and tracking everything. If you had asked me before I started working for that guy, and I'm not going to mention him because we don't get along anymore, but if you had asked me, Jeff, how many calls does it take you personally, me personally, to get one appointment? Without thinking about it, I could have told you 100 calls equals one appointment. Was that true? Absolutely not. But it felt like that because I hate cold calling so much. And the problem with that is if you really need 100 dials to make one stupid appointment, you're never going to pick up I might as well stand with a sign on the Long Island Expressway that says sales training here and wait for cars to pull over. It really takes me 100 dials to make an appointment. But when I actually started tracking, I was like, oh, it's not that bad at all. If I make X amount of calls, I get through to this amount of people and I get this amount of appointments. It's just like when you're selling. You've got to know your closing ratio. You got to know that whatever your number is, 5 no's equals 1 yes, because that way you learn to love no. I don't love it as much as I love yes, but I know that 2 or 3 or 4 more, I'm going to get a yes. So you got to know your numbers, JR. Absolutely.
So if this is launch codes, then just disregard this next question. But what would be a good direct call, cold call ROI for you?
Yeah. So it's certainly dramatically decreased over the years. Today, if somebody's dialing and gets 1 out of 10 people to 1 out of 15 people to connect with, 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 15 to actually pick up the phone, you're doing okay. And it's the same thing with getting, if you can get 25 to 50% of the people who would agree with an appointment, that's great. The tough one is voicemail. It's very, very, I used to get, when I first started cold calling, 43% of my voicemails got returned. Now, if you get 10 to 15%, that's a great number. I advise, and there's a prospecting genius that I follow on LinkedIn. If you've never heard of him, his name is Jason Bay, B-A-Y. Joe, you should definitely have him as a guest. The guy's great.
I'm trying to do that.
Jason Bay, he's terrific. Young guy, really, really smart. He suggests that when you're leaving a voicemail today, and I completely agree with him, it should be in relationship to an email. So you send the email first, and the next day you call, and most of the time you don't go through to people. So the voicemail is going to sound like this. Hey, JR, it's Jeff Goldberg. We don't know each other, and I know you're too busy to call me back, but I just wanted to let you know, I sent you an email yesterday at 12:43 p.m. The subject line is blah, blah, blah. So you're actually using the voicemail to point them to the email. Now, if it takes 12 to 18 touches to get somebody to get back in touch with you, there's 2 right there. And because you're pointing them to that email, maybe they'll just go look at it and respond to that. So the numbers are low, but you got to play look. There's a phrase that I both like and don't like. Sales is a numbers game. It's not really a numbers game. It's a game of skills and talent and all that other stuff. But to a certain extent, it is a numbers game because the more people you reach out to, the more people that are going to speak with you. The more people you speak with, the more they're going to say yes.
Here's a gem that I picked up many years ago. 8 o'clock is when the gatekeeper comes in. So I'd be there at 6:30. Between 7 and 8, I would be reaching out, and 90% of the time I would hit the C-level person I was talking to because none of the help is going to show up.
Same thing with lunchtime. The gatekeeper goes to lunch. The boss is still sitting there. Here's another one that you might like. When I was married and lived with my children and my money, which I don't anymore, my ex-wife wife at the time, don't make any plans that include me Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, because what was I doing? From 9 to 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I was making cold calls. 2 reasons. 1, you don't get through to people most of the time anyway, so I could leave a voicemail anytime. And 2, you would be surprised at how many times I did get a CEO, a company president, or a VP of sales to pick up the phone on a Saturday because A, they're sitting there in their jeans and their t-shirt trying to clean up all the work that they couldn't get to because pests like us were bothering them during the week. And 2, who do they think is calling them on a Saturday? They probably think it's somebody from their family. Who else would be crazy enough to call them? This guy. Right. This guy. Yeah,
it shows you're motivated, exactly. And you're going the next step, and you're breaking your back to make them happy.
I'm the guy that'll call you on a weekend.
They have respect for you for the hustle, right? Because a hustler will always respect someone else's hustle.
Absolutely. I never once had anybody say, how dare you call me on a Saturday? Why would you do it? Here's another question I get all the time. Should you call people on their cell phone? Yeah, call them on their cell phone. I mean, I'm old enough. I still have a landline and a cell phone. But you know what? If somebody's upset that you called them on their cell phone, you weren't going to get an appointment with them anyways. I'm on the
Correct.
golf course. Sorry, didn't know that. When's a better time to call you back?
Right. Why did you answer? Is the question. Yeah.
That's my favorite when somebody picks up and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in a meeting." Why'd you? I'll bet if I was President Biden, you wouldn't be telling him that.
Right. I like that. And you played both parts on the political in the show today, Jeff. I love it.
Well,
love
I
it.
certainly have. I certainly have my own political leanings, but I don't want to alienate half the audience.
Right. I get you. I get you.
Go
So
ahead
you
and
know
do
what
all
you're
of
on.
it, Jeff. Go ahead and do all of it. Let's be consistent.
Yes. And the
Reciprocity.
Libertarian Party. Wait, no. So let's go. But no, thank you. And I'm a firm believer. My slogan is, sales is only a numbers game until you become educated, because it's about conversion. It's not about bulk effort.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but no, I think that's fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate your time today. I will be on your show in a couple months. Thank you so much for that. Everybody reach out. JG Sales Pro right there, scrolling across the bottom of this. Reach out to him. Find him on LinkedIn. Go to his website. Go, guys, join the Facebook group. It doesn't hurt to be part of more than one Facebook group, right? If I was scared of that, Jeff would not be on the show. So please go join, learn from him. Let's take it to our next level. And as always, everyone, go out and sell something. Thank you.